All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tackle one of the big ones in the project controls professional apprenticeship, the K22 standard. You know, planning and scheduling. And we're going to do it by following the story of an apprentice named Jody who's trying to figure this whole thing out. Let's get into it. So meet Jody. And let's be honest, if you're an apprentice, you've been here. You get handed the standard K22, and it's just this wall of text, this alphabet soup. It feels completely overwhelming. You're just wondering, where do I possibly start? Well, Jody's challenge is exactly what we're going to solve together today. So here's our game plan to get Jody and you from feeling lost to feeling like a pro. First, we'll look at the K22 challenge itself. Then we'll decode all those core concepts. After that, we'll lay out a super clear 5-step roadmap for you to follow. Next, we'll get into how to actually forge the evidence you need. And finally, we'll talk about how to absolutely nail that final assessment. Okay, first things first. To start her journey, Jody goes to her mentor, Adam. And his first job is to help her see K22 not as some boring textbook she has to memorize, but as a real practical toolkit she's going to use every single day. Adam starts right at the beginning. He explains that, look, behind all that official jargon, K22 is really just the rulebook for a project's timeline. It's all about how you create it, how you manage it, and how you keep it on track. It means knowing the right techniques to use, figuring out how to handle the curveballs or constraints that always pop up, and making sure the right people and equipment are in the right place at the right time. Simple as that. So, now that Jody's got the big picture, Adam starts breaking down the specific tools in that K22 toolkit. These are the absolute essential building blocks she needs to get her head around before she can really start putting them into practice. And I love how Adam explains these techniques. He says, think of the Gantt chart as your visual roadmap. The critical path method, or CPM, well, that's your GPS. It tells you the one route you have to take to get there on time, the tasks that have zero room for delay. Then you've got PERT. Think of that as your fog lights for when the path ahead is uncertain. And Agile? That's your all-terrain off-road vehicle, perfect for those projects where you know the landscape is going to change and you need to be flexible. Next, Adam talks about constraints, which, is just a fancy word for all the things that can and probably will mess up your perfect schedule. He breaks them into two camps. You've got your internal constraints. These are problems from inside your own company, like maybe you don't have enough people with the right skills. And then you have external constraints, stuff happening in the outside world you just can't control, like a supplier dropping the ball. A great planner learns to expect both. Of course, a perfect schedule means nothing if you don't have the resources to actually make it happen. And that's where resource loading comes in. Adam explains this is really the art of making sure your people, your equipment, and your materials are all assigned to the right tasks without burning anyone out. You're basically the conductor of an orchestra, making sure every instrument plays its part at exactly the right moment. So Jody understands the what. Now Adam gives her the how. He lays out this crystal clear step-by-step roadmap to take her from being a confused apprentice to a seriously competent project professional. This is her journey to mastering K22. Adam's roadmap is just brilliant because it shows you how everything connects. He tells Jody, just focus on one step at a time. First, you just need to understand the techniques. Then, you can start using them to actually create schedules. Once you can build a schedule, you'll start getting good at identifying and managing the problems that threaten it. From there, you'll learn to apply resource loading to make sure your plan is actually possible. And finally, you put it all together and demonstrate that you've got this on a real project. And to make this real, Adam gives Jody practical things to do. This isn't about just reading books, it's about getting your hands dirty. She's not just going to read about Gantt charts, she's going to build one in Microsoft Project. She's not just going to learn the theory of CPM, she's going to use it to find the real bottlenecks in a schedule. These are the activities that turn that abstract knowledge into real skills she can prove she has. Okay, so as Jody starts working on her skills, her apprentice coach, Olivia, steps in. Now, Olivia's job is a little different from Adam's. She's focused on one thing, helping Jody prove she's actually learning all this. It's time to talk about building evidence for her portfolio in Aptem. Olivia hits her with the million-dollar question every single apprentice has. It's one thing to do the work and feel like you're learning, but how in the world do you package that up to prove it to an assessor who wasn't even there to see you do it? And this is where Olivia makes it so simple. She shows Jody that all those practical things she's doing with Adam, that's the evidence. The Gantt chart she built, that's a schedule report. The notes she took on fixing a supplier delay, that's constraint documentation. Those screenshots from her software, simulation results. Every piece of work becomes a piece of proof. Then Olivia pulls this gem out, a quote taken directly from the assessment criteria. And this is so important because it shows that assessors aren't trying to trick you.
They are telling you word for word what they want to see. For K22, they want a schedule that's clear, accurate, and logically shows how all the different pieces of the project actually connect.
And now for the final boss, the endpoint assessment, or EPA. Olivia explains that the EPA isn't just a test, it's your chance to use all that evidence you've gathered to tell the story of your projects and prove what you can do.
Olivia preps Jody with a classic EPA question. And notice, it's not asking for a textbook definition. The assessor wants a story. They want to hear about a time you actually used your K22 knowledge to solve a real problem on the job.
And this right here is the secret sauce for how to answer. Olivia coaches Jody not just to talk, but to show. So when she's asked about that constraint, Jody can say, "That's a great question, let me show you." She can pull up her log to set the scene, then point to her Gantt chart to show the exact change she made, and finally use her analysis to prove it worked. She's walking the assessor through her story, using her evidence every step of the way. It's undeniable proof. And that brings us right back to Adam's most important piece of advice. K22, and really all these standards, they aren't just hurdles you have to jump over. They are the actual tools you'll be using in your job for years to come. The goal isn't just to pass a test, it's to build a professional toolkit that will serve you for your entire career. So, what part of your toolkit are you going to start building today?